The story began in one of the apartments in Yakutsk. 4 guys and 2 girls were discussing the movie they had just seen, The Blair Witch Project, coursework from the other world. Some were of the opinion that everything they saw was nonsense, while others said that this could very well happen. It would all have ended there if one of the film's defenders had not offered to make his own film on a similar topic. They say that Yakutia is full of unclean places. Maybe, unlike the guys from the film, they will really remove all sorts of monsters and ghosts. Everyone liked the idea. They immediately began to discuss the technical side of the project. And when they dispersed, an expedition had already been formed with its own budget, 2 video cameras and participants full of enthusiasm. The only thing is that no one knew a truly terrible place. But they decided that there would be no problems with this, since they had an acquaintance, a native of the village, who mentioned several times in conversations that there were cursed places in his native place. But then a problem arose. The acquaintance would never agree to take the guys to these very places. He believed in curses and was terribly afraid. Numerous persuasion had no result. He said that if they were such idiots as to willingly risk their lives, let them do it without his help. According to Yakut beliefs, the curse of spirits can affect fate, and if someone, or something, powerful sends a curse, then it can affect all future offspring. The friends' refusal provoked the guys even more. Since there was no reliable information, we started looking for the place ourselves. Nikolai, Roman, Pavel, and Misha decided to finish the job they started. They decided to go to the Yudus where their friend was from, and there to find out about the habitats of spirits. No sooner said than done. A week later they were already on a ferry sailing towards Nizhny Bestiak. The destination was somewhere 200 kilometers from the city. Having reached Village N, the guys, identifying themselves as history students, spent the night with local residents. The girls, let's call them Vera and Nadia, who spent the night with the same grandmother, came to the guys in the morning with the news that they knew places where evil spirits swarmed. The grandmother with whom they spent the night turned out to be very respectful of strong drinks, and hinted to the girls that it would be a good idea to give her a bottle for their hospitality. That's what the girls did. The intoxicated grandmother turned out to be unusually chatty, and, between the story about her husband, who died 20 years ago, and complaints about the local head of administration, she mentioned an area where there was an old abandoned dwelling, Yotek, where evil forces lived. So, the filming location was found. All that remained was to find a guide. Another problem, no one wanted to be hired as a guide. The grandmother tried to persuade the girls not to go there. She repented that she had told them about this dwelling, thereby raising the seeds of doubt among the girls, but the guys quickly returned their spirits. By the way, all this time one of them was constantly recording what was happening on camera, copying the movie The Blair Witch Project. In the evening, near the village store, a man with a rather shabby face approached the guys and offered his services as a guide for 15 bottles of vodka. The guys were surprised by the excessively large amount of the fee, and they began to bargain. The guy, who introduced himself as Vasya, after persuasion, agreed to 10 bottles, but demanded an advance payment of 5 bottles immediately. This Saturday night was worse than any horror movie. The entire male population of the village got drunk, and the street resembled an arena where a fight took place according to the rules all against all. The film crew did not sleep all night. They were afraid for themselves and for the conductor, who came running to them for a new bottle, covered in blood and with a torn t-shirt. In general, fears began long before the appearance of spirits. In the morning, the guide Vasya said that he had changed his mind, explaining his refusal by saying that the old people had forbidden him to assist in this sinful event. The expedition was on the verge of collapse. Some began to be inclined to think about returning to the city. This seemed to be the only way out of this situation. As one of the project participants later said, and the most correct thing, we were getting ready to go back, and suddenly the situation changed dramatically. Vasya came again with the words, "I saw all these old bastards in the coffin, and pour it quickly before you change your mind." As it turned out, the old people promised to pay him if he abandoned this idea, and apparently they did not keep their word. A couple of hours later, we were on our way. Mosquitoes were very annoying, despite the repellent generously applied to the skin. Vasya kept touching the bottle and demanded that they remember the path better, because the guys would have to return themselves. Everyone was in high spirits. The guys were joking, the girls were laughing, only Vasya was gloomier than a cloud and occasionally swore at the old people. Apparently his conscience was tormenting him. 4 hours later, a view of a clearing, alas, with a small black spot in the middle opened up, which was the very Yotek. Here Vasya said goodbye to everyone, took the rest of his fee and left. The home was clean and untouched. Judging by the layer of dust, no one has entered since the October Revolution. There was a teapot on a 3-legged sandalwood table, and cracked birch bark vessels chabichak lay on the bunks. The picture could be called boring, but not scary. The girls began to clean up the dust, the guys went to get firewood and water. After some time, the computer took on a completely lived-in appearance. A bouquet of flowers on the table, a fire in the stove, music was heard from the tape recorder. It was getting dark. When one of the guys decided to feed the fire according to the Yakut custom, he was advised not to do this. They say, let the spirits be offended. For the same reason, they increased the volume of the tape recorder and played dance music there. Soon they noticed that everyone was silent and listening to the sounds of music in a strange hypnotic stupor. They started talking loudly, but somehow quickly fell silent again. The conversation didn't go well. Suddenly a squeal was heard. Turn off the music, Vera screamed. Covering her ears, she rolled on the dirt floor in hysterics. Nadia tried to calm her down, but to no avail. Suddenly the music died down by itself. The tape in the tape recorder jammed. We went to bed, but no one could sleep. About an hour later, steps were heard behind the wall. Someone stumbled around the house, but did not enter, but went around again in a circle. There was a feeling that this someone was looking for the door, but could not find it. Who's there? Kolya asked, but no one answered. Vasya, is that you? Pavel remembered about the guide. The answer to him was also silence. After the third circle, the steps moved away towards the forest. Roma, taking the camera, headed towards the exit, but then the girls started screaming for him not to open the door. Vera was again on the verge of hysteria. However, Roma came out with the camera, and the door slammed behind him. Those remaining inside began to discuss what to do next. We decided to feed the fire and ask the spirits for forgiveness. They began to prepare for the ritual, but then the door swung open with a knock, and Roma appeared on the threshold. I took it off, it's chasing me. At the same time, he grinned strangely and rolled his eyes wildly. I took it off, he muttered incessantly. The girls started crying. Nobody really remembered what happened next. The fragments of memories that the members of the expedition retained differ. They returned to the village in the evening of the next day. Roman had a stomachache and was dizzy. The guys were given a sedative and sent by bus to Nizhny Bestiak, while Roman remained in the local hospital. All the videotape was demagnetized. One video camera was broken. In the city, a previously very friendly company fell apart. They no longer gathered together. Roman tried to hang himself 6 months later and is now registered with the PND. Nikolai, previously a very sociable guy, became withdrawn. The guide Vasya, according to rumors, died a month after that incident.